Scoff, son!
I'm going to introduce Uncle Herbie, who will then introduce his daughter to us. Uncle Herbie.
Well, recently, June started to enter talent competitions in public houses and clubs in the London area, and she's been very successful. Now she will give you a sample of what she does. Here are June, go ahead.
Thank you. Women, do you tend to get fat in certain places? Well, why don't you stay out of those places?
Off you go then, Betty.
Well, you line a cake tin with the bread, with the sponge cakes.
Mm-hmm.
You just...
Just straight out the packet. It's easy to get hold of those then.
Yes. Well, there's a trifle sponge cake.
Ah, yes.
A man walks into a bar. He goes, it was an iron bar.
Do you serve this cheesecake up to your family?
Yes, my family love this cheesecake, and we've always made it. It was my mother's recipe in Ireland.
Now, what's that?
Now, this is a pound of curd cheese. A pound of curd cheese. When I was home in Ireland, we used to buy a gallon of milk and let it go sour. And then you put it in a muslin bag and you let the water drip until it's dry.
Ah.
And just put salt and pepper in it. And that was the curd cheese.
How long does it take then before it's ready for you to do it that way?
Oh, about 2 days. It's easier to buy in the shops.
So it's very fattening, isn't it, this cheesecake?
Not really.
Isn't it?
This curd cheese, there's no fat in it, really.
Ah.
But this is sour cream, a carton of sour cream.
In Boston, America, a man knocks on a door. The man comes to the door. He says, "Who's there?" He says, "The Boston Strangler." He turns to his wife. He says, "It's for you, dear." The Boston Strangler returns to the same home a year later. He knocks on the door. The man comes to the door. He says, "Who's there?" He says, "The Boston Strangler." He said, "I already gave."
A tablespoonful of corn flour.
Yes.
And 2 eggs.
Right, yeah.
4 tablespoonfuls of sugar. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you just mix it all together.
Have you got your things that go on the bottom?
A man walks into the doctor's surgery. The doctor says, "You're going to live to be 80. He says, "I am 80. He says, "What did I tell you?"
We're just looking up in the cupboard to find the things that go on the bottom of the mix, and that's all.
"Oh, doctor, I'm so nervous. This is my first operation. I know just how you feel. You're my first patient."
Now, those are the skewery things.
Yes, there's not. The others are only just for sponge. All you've got to do is put it on top of the sponge cake.
Is that it?
And that's it. And you don't grease the tin.
Why?
You don't have to grease the tin. And that's it.
Stick it in the oven?
And stick it in the oven.
At what sort of heat?
At 375 for 15 minutes. And then put it down to 300 for 3/4 of an hour.
Oh, I hope
So
you've
it's
got
only
one
an
you've
hour.
already made. I can't wait that long. We've got Uncle Herbie, Sophie and June.
Sorry about that.
Well, I'll tell you, I think first thing, it'd be nice if the gentleman could at least sit straight at the table.
I think it'd be wonderful.
And the other funny thing is we seem to notice that the lady seems to have got the big armchair.
He's quite right.
And the gentleman seems to have the little dainty chair. But obviously, and that came from the old days when the gentleman got so drunk it stopped them falling out of their chair, of course.
No.
That's it.
It's not a cardinal's hat. No, that's right, it's a napkin.
So you should do that immediately when you sit down. But we'll forgive you this. I don't think that's right.
Obviously, you're used to eating at spaghetti houses.
Yeah.
And do everything to the camera. Give,
Right.
give to the camera, always.
Okay, we'll do that.
And go!
Okay, well, hello, everybody. We're here in Brocket Hall in lovely Hertfordshire countryside. And today we're going to show you a wonderful menu.
What's your name?
Oh, sorry, my name's Eileen and Stephanie.
Right.
And we're going to show you a wonderful menu using packet and frozen food as well as brought food.
Oh, that's quite
You always
good.
do that at the table.
Lean on top of all your cup. Well, sometimes I do. Yes.
Right, now we're ready for the food.
Right, okay then. So the first one is asparagus soup, which is really quick, easy. All you do is just open the can.
Can't see it, hold it forward.
Right, asparagus soup, cream asparagus soup, make really good with just a little bit of parsley on the top.
Next thing.
With The rolls, nice and crisp, crispy rolls. And of course, not forgetting the herb and garlic croutons.
Croutons.
Can I just make a comment? You don't actually hold it like that.
Well, how do you hold it then?
Calm down. just hold it like that. This will knock your partner's eye out. Keep doing that.
So
Hold it like that.
yes.
That's it. Hold it a bit further up the spoon.
Yeah.
That's it.
And
No, you
But
don't
handle
scoop
it,
that
that's
way.
right.
You, scoop, you start on the inside.
yes.
With that side of your spoon.
Yes.
Go in and that way. That's it. Actually
And I-
start a bit closer.
Am I allowed to bring it towards my mouth?
Yes, that way if there are any drips, it'll drip back in the plate and not on your skirt.
Thank you. I'm wearing trousers.
I've
seen these before.
on these.
These
So
are
I'll
very
show
good
you how to
because-
do a paradiddle.
You put them in your mouth like this.
Oh, there you
This
go.
is always the correct
That takes us to
very
it.
correct
Right,
technique. Because you put them in your mouth like that and you go.
I think it's worth saying that normally when people get in a muddle about which knife and fork to use, that you always start from the outside and work in. The bread knife, of course, is on the outside, and that sometimes puts people off because they have something like soup. They see a knife and think, Christ, we've been told wrong. But you always start from the outside, but of course ignore the bread knife.
We have a moule marnier. Is that right? Pronounce that right? Moule marnier?
Moule marnier.
Yeah, marnier, you're right.
Moule marnier.
Fish course, which is mussels in white wine, onions and garlic. Followed by our alternative, which is trout, which has been gutted off the bone, garlic butter and parsley, and it's absolutely delicious.
Come on.
Oh,
What's that?
I don't know. It looks weird to me.
Well, I don't eat this either. I don't eat this. I'm sorry. I don't want that.
Now, normally, this problem actually wouldn't arise because
No.
with your guest, you'd check what their dietary requirements are, whether it's religion or whether it's because they're vegetarian or don't like fish or anything like that.
I think that the politest thing to do in that case would be just to accept it and push it around a bit on your plate and not actually... Just pretend you're eating it. No,
Push like this.
no, not really. You have to pretend you're actually eating it.
He's doing an interesting job of boning the fish and putting it on his side plate and the neighbour's side plate too. You lay claim to a side plate. It's the one on your left and also the one on your right.
So who's got fish bones on it?
Acceptable. I'd rather have my soup.
Yes, and the
no,
lemon
not
soup you're
quite.
not supposed to drink. That actually is a finger bowl. And
finish making
it's
a
just
mess?
warm water with a little bit of lemon in it.
No,
You dip your fingers in to clean it.
following with spaghetti Neapolitan sauce, different from bolognese sauce, lovely tomatoes, special Italian spaghetti, and to sprinkle with Parmesan cheese, just straight out of the packet. What could be easier?
Can I stop you 1 minute? Firstly, you shouldn't really cut your roll. You should break it. And secondly, I think you're using your fish knife.
Yes, I am. No. You never take it with your knife. You always take it with your fork.
No, you don't.
Well,
I think your dry cleaning bills are going to be quite high.
Yes,
if you keep
normally you'd
reaching across your
use the
plate.
butter knife actually by the butter dish.
Yes.
You wouldn't use any of your own. You wouldn't spread the butter on the bread. Just
No.
put a bit of butter on that bit of
On the
bread
bit
you've
you're going to
broken
eat.
off.
Yes.
And you can put the knife down.
Back here.
No, it goes
no.
back on the plate.
There.
That's right.
And then
Then
this.
you could eat that. Yes.
A dangerous angle, that.
and this.
That's right. That's what you use.
Isn't it?
Spaghetti.
Oh, dear.
Oh, there's a wine.
It's a wrong glass.
Well, my wife knows Italy well, so she can comment on eating the spaghetti.
Okay.
If I were an Italian waiter, I'd take your spaghetti away. Put the spoon down. You don't want the spoon.
Chicken Kiev, just pop it into the oven at gas mark 4 for about 20 minutes. Or you could have duck à l'orange. Yes, with the vegetables. Asparagus, just pop into the hot plate, cook, mange 2. 5 minutes cooking using the hot plate, followed by a packet of potatoes and petit pois.
Chicken Kiev for me. Yum. What's yours? Duck.
Duck.
Lovely. Oh, not the old duck
yes.
gags.
I know, it's good, isn't it?
Now then, am I correct in the knife department?
Yes, you're
Yep.
correct in the
I
knife
am.
department. You've got your knife on the wrong hand. Or you
No, I
left-handed?
eat left-handed.
You eat left-handed?
You eat left-handed.
I beg
Everything
your
else is
pardon.
right-handed.
You're
Oh,
right
dear.
there.
So right
gets more
now.
complicated.
So this,
Well, you can put them on the back of your fork, but that's a bit
Shove it.
difficult and can look a bit messy. So
Yes.
turn it round. That's
This,
it.
yes.
Don't hold it quite like that. Hold
No,
it normally.
sort of, yeah.
And try to get them on the fork from the inside, or just from the side, not from the point.
You push the peas on with the knife.
That's it.
Like this.
Yes, that's it.
Well done.
And that's it.
Lovely.
And then eat it.
Very difficult peas.
You shouldn't really use a fork as a shovel.
No.
Am Am I perfect in the pea department now?
You're perfect.
You're perfect in
Thank heavens for that.
It is acceptable to eat asparagus sometimes with your fingers, but only when they're served on their own.
Yes.
If it's served as a vegetable, you never use your fingers. Okay? But some
You're
people, they
always-
tackle
why
their
don't you
tongue,
do
will
it
actually
like
rip
that?
it apart. And there's no need to rip it apart, you just cut the breast off of the duck.
Right off my foot.
Of the duck.
Then coming to the dessert, a lovely lemon pavlova. All you do is just take it out and thaw.
Lemon pavlova. Got it?
Yep.
Profiteroles.
Hold up with that.
Profiteroles, nice chocolate profiteroles. And meringue nests, which just whipped with cream and fruit.
We have to hasten to add this food has not been cooked at Brocket Hall. It has come straight out of a packet. If you come to Brocket Hall, ladies and gentlemen, you won't be eating this kind of food.
Don't worry, they're not on meringues.
I'm taking my fiver.
Later. Normally the problem of meringues wouldn't actually arise. If they are correctly cooked, they would not be like rocks. You'd be able to put your spoon straight through them. However, if you are confronted with a food and it's rock hard, the way to do it is to pierce it with a fork that'll tend to break it up.
Oh.
And if you think there's any danger of anything flying off the plate, just use your spoon as a safety stop, like that. Now that is not very good manners.
No.
Even if it fits in your mouth in one, really, you should cut it in half.
Well, you're the first boy. This is the bit I'm interested in. The mince.
I think generally this whole thing about what is correct and what isn't correct, most of it is based upon real practical reasons, like the knife holding it with your finger on top of the blade is because you can exert more pressure. It's very practical. Also, the soup plate you tilt away from you. The very simple reason is that
Don't spill the soup on top of you.
if you spill the soup, it doesn't go down your front, it goes on the table. But generally speaking, the most important thing is to have a good time at a dinner party or lunch and just enjoy yourself. And if you do something wrong, as long as you don't draw attention to it, it doesn't really matter.
Primates, which we are, and apes, most of the other ones are omnivorous too, although the gorilla's largely vegetarian. Chimpanzees certainly like eating meat when they get the chance. Orangutans, likewise, will eat a bit of meat now and again. And I think probably our ancestors were omnivorous. They ate meat when they got the chance.
Are organic foods any better for you than normal ones?
No, we've got no reason to suppose that organic foods are any better than the products that are available in the markets in town. All these products that are used on human foods are well tested, and most humans live to a ripe old age. And our average lifespan these days is, what, 75 years or getting on, so. Lovely demonstration of teeth.
Your nose is on camera. Nose is on camera. Now, those teeth are obviously, especially for meat eating, aren't they?
Yeah. Those great long canine teeth you can see are designed are evolved for catching prey and killing it. The trouble with humans is our behaviour is rather different from that of many other animals in that so much of what we do is learned, that we've learned from our parents and our teachers and our friends. And we learn what foods to eat, and we observe what foods others eat, and we learn that way instead of just following our instincts about food. And beyond the llamas, some giraffes. And these animals eat herbage. And mammals don't have the enzymes to be able to break down plant material, plant cell walls. If we ate grass, we wouldn't be able to digest it as efficiently as would a ruminant, which is able to get a lot of energy and protein from it.
So if we can survive without eating meat, why do people bother?
Well, why do people eat meat? They eat meat because they like the taste, but it's certainly true that we have to eat relatively more of those indigestible fibrous vegetable materials than we would if we were ruminants. We don't have the bacteria and the microflora to do that digestion for us.
So I tried to conduct a dignified interview with an eminent vet, and you two turn up in gorilla outfits.
We thought he'd be less intimidated if we turned up like one of his patients.
Well, I was embarrassed, frankly. Embarrassed. Go away, because I don't want to... No, but I didn't say this. Just don't run while I run. Oh, there's a policeman coming now.
No, I'm over here.
come back here. Look, I'm staying in my light.
So to your left, the sign.
No, but look at the light. Out, in. Here we are at the Roundtree Macintosh factory in York.
This is what we call the moulding plants, and you can see that there's a bath of chocolate. All right.
I'm doing the motion there for you.
Every time the roller revolves, we get about 5,700 Smarty centres. And so in any day, we're producing about 40 million of these Smarty centres.
Oh.
Well, here you see the Smarty centres that we've just made. They've just emerged from the cooler.
I better test one, hadn't I? Oh, God. Do you find that lots of parents and kids alike are more and more aware of, like, worrying about colourings and preservatives and that kind of thing in there?
Well, that's what we have heard, but we have a policy here of only using ingredients that have been thoroughly tested and approved by the appropriate bodies.
How many Smarties do you sell a year, then?
About,
you don't have to be exact, not to the one.
About, in the UK, about 8,000 million individual sweets.
8,000 million. Unpolished!
Sufficient tubes to travel from here to Sydney, Australia. So it's a fair number.
Always have sufficient tubes. Smarties. Well, then they go into there and they get all polished up. Look at this. Bring the camera up here. So here we have the finished product off to the shop. But this handful has to go off to my pocket. Goodbye. What's going on? All the cranes have started. They're all manically going up and down all the little corridors to pick up all the chocolates.
My name's Graham Barnby.
And he's a dentist. Now, so brushing your teeth, how often should you do it?
Well, you've always been told you should brush them 3 times a day. But in fact, if you brush them very, very well once a day and then use the other brushes just to actually give yourself a social lift so you're nice to be near, that is all you need to do. So,
am I nice to be near?
You are very nice to be near, Dawn.
Heavens for that. And what about how often you eat, then?
Well, again, it's a question of how many times you put food into your mouth.
A
really?
lot, in my case.
Well, perhaps a little bit less then in future. That's all for good. So if you eat just 3 meals a day, that reduces the attacks. But of course, in a normal life, you're going to eat more than that because you can have cups of coffee in between meals. But if you can reduce the amount of sugar in those things, then, of course, you will actually reduce the number of attacks. There are other things that are able to turn into sugars in the mouth. Rice, bread, crisps, dried fruit. In fact, most things that we eat do have a potential to turn into some sort of acid, but some, of course, are slower at turning into acid, and some, of course, produce less acid. Things like raisins, dried raisins, are very high in sugar, but they're naturally high in sugar, so that's going to actually release sugar in your mouth.
Kids raisins these days, don't they, as opposed to sweets?
Yes, and again, that can actually be just as bad as giving them some sweets.
What about chocolate? I'm a chocoholic myself.
Well,
you wouldn't know it to look at me, but I am.
You're not.
I am.
Well, chocolate, of course, is very addictive, and it's one of those things that is quite good in many ways because it does actually dissolve in your mouth and actually get flushed away fairly quickly.
So it's okay? So it's okay?
It's perhaps slightly more okay than some of the other things. It's much better to perhaps have a small bar of chocolate than to have a bag of boiled sweets that you're going to suck all afternoon.
We're keeping our teeth longer than ever, though, aren't we?
Oh, much longer, yes. We've dropped from something like 40% of the population to only 29% of the population who have lost all their teeth over the age of 16. So we have actually made big improvements in the last 10, 15 years.
It's a fairly staggering figure, isn't it?
Except a lot of them are actually more of the elderly groups.
Yeah. We're outside Mr. Killick's sweet shop, and I'm very happy to be here, being a girl who loves sweets, but I've got 2 gladiators of the additive war with me. Here I've got John Hammond. What organisation are you from, John?
I'm from the Food and Drink Federation.
Thank you. And Melanie Minner from?
The London Food Commission.
So let's go inside and start the battle. Mr. Killick, what do you feel about selling all these things in your shop? Do you think people should know about all these additives?
Indeed, they should know. I agree with that, but I don't believe there's any harm in anything we sell.
You stand by everything that's in the shop, then?
Indeed I do. It's all good stuff.
The government's independent advisory expert committee has concluded that there is no general public health concern arising from the consumption of colours.
But isn't that because people are ignorant about colours?
No, it certainly isn't because they're ignorant. Colours have been extensively tested and have been found to be safe in use.
I want to focus on some of the natural colours. We've talked about the artificial ones, and there are health hazards shown up in some animal tests. There are also problems with the natural colours, and manufacturers are now selling us all the natural ones, saying, oh, no problem with these. But in one series of tests on people with stuff called urticaria, which is sort of skin rash disease, more people reacted badly to the natural colouring annatto, E160B, also used in licorice all sorts, than to the notorious tartrazine that we've all heard about that causes rashes and migraine and hyperactivity. Now, it's only a small proportion of the population that are affected. Sorry.
No, keep going. My arm's aching.
Oh,
I quite... No, but keep going.
It's actually only a small number of people that get these allergic reactions, but we think that's too many.
What we've done are two things. First of all, packaged food carries labels telling people specifically what additives are in it. And secondly, the food industry has established with some professional medical people a food intolerance data bank, a computer-held list of foods that are free from the most common components known to be responsible for food intolerance, whether they're food ingredients or food additives. And that's a helpful initiative to anybody who's unfortunate enough to suffer from allergies.
She's furious. She's furious about something he said. While I was talking to him and holding the microphone up here, she's going, oh, oh, like that.
What was it? Right, well, the point I wanted to make is that although it's a small number of people who are affected and get allergies from these things, the Norwegian government and the Swedish government thought it was a sufficient number of people to do something about it. And rather than just leaving them in the majority of our foods, as they've done over here, they banned all the artificial colours in Norway back in 1976, an awful long time ago, even though they knew small numbers of people were affected. And in Sweden, they restricted a lot of those colours to certain foods.
Are people still dying over there?
People still get allergies from foods, but the point is that while foods like eggs and wheat and milk that cause allergies are really nutritious for most of us and don't cause a problem. When it comes to
butterscotch
additives
as well, please. Quarter of that butterscotch.
They're not strictly necessary in many cases, and certainly could be left out of things like meat products, fish fingers. You know, you don't need them in those.
Well, the colours that are used today have been thoroughly tested, far more thoroughly tested than in many natural foods that people eat every day.
By people that you're paying, or who's paying for these people to test them?
Tested by independent scientists.
Who do it for nothing?
Who do it because they're paid to do it.
Who buy?
Whoever has commissioned the work.
No, we don't pay them. They're paid for by them.
I don't think the person that pays them particularly should be allowed to prejudice anybody's reaction to the results of the studies. The results of the studies are reviewed by independent experts, and they're happy that they've demonstrated no hazard to health.
You know, you don't need to cut sweets out of your diet completely, but have them in sometimes. Treat them as treats rather than as things that you eat instead of a meal. And probably best to...
Then they become addictive if you treat them as treats.
I don't see why.
That's not true.
Yes,
that was
it is.
nonsense. That's not true.
Every time you do something right, we have to come and get you a chocolate bar.
Oh, no.
That is true.
That is true. I didn't mean treat in that sense. I meant something for fun. I suppose we use treat in a different way. I didn't mean a reward.
Oh, I see.
But just something like, you know, once a week, you take your money down to the sweet shop, get some sweets, gobble them, brush your teeth.
So my mother was not an evil poisoner then?
I don't think your mother was an evil poisoner.
I'm glad you said that. I have to punch you.
Next.
In fact, sweets form only about 4% of most people's diet, and there's no real danger in people getting overweight simply because they're eating about 8 ounces of sweets a week.
I agree.
Thank you.
I like this microphone. It's good. I'm going to keep this always. No one has any powers. Yeah, you just walk out and nobody can say anything now.